Washington. President Trump said on Thursday he had agreed to pleas from the leaders of Canada and Mexico not to withdraw immediately from the North American Free Trade Agreement. But he warned he would still pull the United States out if he could not negotiate a better deal. I received calls from the President of Mexico and the Prime Minister of Canada asking to renegotiate Nafta rather than terminate, Mr. Trump said on Twitter. I agreed. Moments later, the President added, subject to the fact that if we do not reach a fair deal for all, we will then terminate Nafta. Relationships are good minus deal very possible. Mr. Trump's posts showed once again his taste for high-stakes deal-making and his willingness to reverse himself. Only hours earlier, the president's aides put out word he was likely to sign a directive starting a 6-month clock to end the trade agreement. As a practical matter, it is not clear Mr. Trump's position has changed that much. During the 2016 campaign, he said he would seek to renegotiate Nafta and pull out if he could not rework it to his satisfaction. That is essentially what he said on Twitter on Thursday morning. Still, in the phone calls with President Enrique Pena Nieto of Mexico and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, which came shortly after 6 p.m. on Wednesday, Mr. Trump stepped back from the brink of a trade war with two of America's biggest trading partners. The White House described the calls as pleasant and productive, and Mr. Trump issued a statement Wednesday night, saying, "It is my privilege to bring NAFTA up to date through renegotiation. I believe that the end result will make all three countries stronger and better." The late-night announcement followed a day in which officials signaled he was laying the groundwork to pull out of NAFTA, a move intended to increase pressure on Congress to authorize new negotiations, and on Canada and Mexico to accede to American demands. Mr. Trump has frequently called NAFTA the worst trade deal ever signed by the United States. Washington must give Canada and Mexico 6 months' notice before leaving the trade agreement, which came into force in 1994. Any action to that effect would start the clock. But the prospect of the United States pulling out obviously alarmed the Canadian and Mexican leaders and prompted their calls to the White House. The Mexican peso plummeted in trading after news broke at midday on Wednesday. The White House had drafted an executive order withdrawing the United States from NAFTA. Mr. Trudeau called Mr. Trump twice, on Tuesday and Wednesday, to discuss the sudden rupture in the trade relationship between the United States and Canada. On Monday, the Trump administration announced that it would impose a tariff on Canadian softwood lumber in retaliation for what it said was unfair treatment of American dairy farmers. The White House wants Congress to authorize those negotiations under legislation would allow expedited approval of the reworked agreement, but talks between administration officials and congressional Republicans have moved slowly.